What's up, guys and gals? Welcome back to the Nerdcastle for the next episode of Tyranny. My name is Splattercat, and we are here to kidnap a general's daughter, I guess? This doesn't feel like something that an adjudicator of law would be doing. You spot a soldier lying in a slump. Through the mud and blood caked on his tattered garb, you can make out the colors and insignia of the Unbroken. He fights through pain with each of his ragged breaths. As you approach, he shifts his head slightly towards you, but does not appear to have the strength to look up. So this is it, then. Just kill me quickly. I'm in no state to continue on like this. His forced smile sends a trickle of blood out of his mouth. What happened here? He raises his hand and takes a while looking at you before wincing. The Scarlet Chorus. They've been driving us across the wasteland, pressing their attack at every turn. Looks like they finally got us cornered in this pass. I was part of the first line of defense. When my comrades got wiped out, the chorus went on through. I thought myself lucky they didn't check for survivors, but after a few hours, I started to change my mind. His wry smile quickly turns to a wince of pain. Do you need aid? I could dress the wound. Very optimistic of you, but his wounds are too severe. I could attempt a healing spell, but I fear it'd merely prolong his pain and give him little more than false hope. He coughs, spilling more blood on the earth. Don't you come any closer. I've seen what the gang bosses do to people. That sick bastard, Jagged Remedy. He trails off, wincing in agony. Remedy is nearby, is he? Verse shakes her head. Damn. I always hated that creepy old man. I have questions. He coughs up a glob of blood and looks at it with bemusement. I don't have much time to regale you with tales of stalwart history, I'm afraid. Rather spend these last moments remembering the true color of the sky. Alright then. Is this strictly necessary? I could mix up a sedative and oh, you're gonna kill him. Never mind. Forget I said anything. You deliver a swift blow to his head. The last of his energy leaves him as he crumples to the ground. Alright, so Jagged Remedy's here. Oh, we get his loot too. Hooray. Scavenger leather boots. He gets disengagement defense. I assume that helps when you're, like, trying to get the shit out of the way of getting punched in the head. I don't know. It probably gives you a chance to parry or something when you're trying to disengage, which is already kind of a dangerous prospect. I've found that attacks of opportunity in this game are not to be fiddled with. I just stay away from them altogether. Like, once you're in combat, you're in combat. Don't worry about going anywhere else. Alright, Blood Moss. We've got rock spires have risen so suddenly and violently that the weapons and armor alike were pierced straight through. Okay, I don't even know exactly what that all means, but I guess I can live with it. There's a blood chanter over here, but I'm gonna take their cheese. They call me the cheese jacker, the bread whacker, the lead smacker. None of this makes any sense at all, I know. It's just random bullshit. Man, they're impaling everybody down in here. Calm down, Vlad.
Adding to their army, the Scarlet Chorus can wear anyone down. The Unbroken have held out longer than most.
Apparently they booby-trapped the front of their camp. I thought since we were going into friendly territory, it was clearly the area where the Scarlet Chorus has been. You can't tell me it doesn't look like the Scarlet Chorus hasn't been here. I figured they would just have, like, physical guards, but no. They were actually, like, booby-trapping their own camp. Touché, Scarlet Chorus, touché. Bronze daggers, basically other vendor fodder. Armor and supplies clearly belonging to the Unbroken are strewn about. It is hard to tell. The red accents are from blood or chorus war paint. Alright, well, let's take it slow first. I'm going to have her sneak through here. And make sure there's not too much gangster shit going on. Man, they're like staring each other down right here. It's like all quiet on the western front in this bitch. Well, 5 feet away from each other throwing apples and having Christmas ceremonies together. The heavily armored Crimson Spear is presently occupied using a sharpened piece of bronze on a self-inflicted wound on his forearm. He looks up and grimaces. From pain or from recognition, it is difficult to tell. The Fatebinder of Tunon is recognized in my camp. Hail. They call me Jagged Remedy. You are a fair way from Tunon's court. Did you get lost? Or are you here for a reason? Speak up. My gang is occupied enough without entertaining guests. I'll do the Voices wants to invite some influential people to the chorus, and I'm here to help. Strange to see a servant of Tunon picking sides, but I suppose these are strange times, and you have your reasons. Our goals complement each other nicely. We've cornered a group of soldiers in the pass. I understand that one of them is the Unbroken leader, Matias. The Voices of Nerat has been adamant about inviting people of the influence into our ranks. He wishes to learn as much as he can before he breaks them. He seems delighted by the concept. In keeping with the Voices directive, I want to conscript Matias and his unit and add their strength to my gang. The whole thing has proven troublesome, but we're about to introduce these once proud locals to their breaking point. Alright, well, what's the problem? Rebels won't give up without a fight, and they're useless to me as corpses unless stalwart meat keeps better than pork. Nothing in his tone implies that he's joking. I want you to convince them to join the crew. The Unbroken should be pushovers by now. We've bled them nearly dry, and they will prove malleable. But talking and negotiation are not my strong suits. Speak with them. Convince them to put down their rusted poles and join our ranks. Alright. Really? I can betray the Alliance, huh? Alright, well, I'll go Noble Scion for now. Have you considered an offering of rings to the Unbroken? Clever solution that has disappointed me time and time again, he tuts. I'm afraid the mercenary tactics work better on farmhands than patriots. Doubtless the Unbroken would not appreciate the irony of accepting the Overlord's currency in exchange for their conscription. Alright. Well, I thought Ash forbade the Scarlet Chorus from entering the Blade Grave. You see Ash here swinging his hammer with wild abandon. He takes a bow. Or a show of glancing around the air, and here do I. We're in the middle of a civil war. Once the dust settles, Graven Ash doesn't own this region any more than Tunon's gavel. What were the Unbroken doing before you cornered them? They spent the last year trying to reach Sentinel Stand Keep, the heart of Old Stalwart and a bastion of strength. Of course, the Edict of Storms cut off the old fort from the rest of the realm. The unit here in Trapper's Junction looks to have some big players in the Unbroken hierarchy, if such a thing even exists. We intercepted some birds they've dispatched in haste, and they seem to be directing other Unbroken officers in the region. If we snagged the leader, Matias, it would open a path to more recruits. Alright. Well, I'll conscript him if I can. Aren't you generous with your time? The Voices will hear of your devotion to our cause, assuming the Unbroken don't shatter your courtly bones. He laughs quietly to himself. Let me know when you've convinced that ragged group of upstarts to join our ranks. Okay, and what's Pyre doing over here? You see a woman turned away from you, her head leaning into various barrels, tossing out bits of rotted food and the occasional pest. You can see that her back is adorned with scars from the burns that stretch the length of her entire left side. She notices you approach and turns her head, revealing the left side of his face to be equally scarred. Wait, she? But his? I'm so confused right now. Fatebinder! The words fall out of misshapen mouth with bits of drool that involuntarily ooze and run down her chin. You're most welcome here. I've got a special price for you. Alright, well, let me see your wares. Ooh. Bloodhound hood. That's pretty sexy. You lose armor, but it's pretty goddamn decent. Not bad at all. Man, you got that good stuff over here. Got that good stuff. Alright, well, let me sell you some of my bullshit first. See what you got going on. What's the difference between these forge-bound hammers? Oh, that one's of nicer quality. Okay. Alright, well, let's unload some of our stuff. We'll keep the fine quality things for later. As far as armor goes, don't really have a giant need to hold on to most of this stuff. And I'd probably get rid of most of the foodstuffs too, like the random just like bluebells and shit. Although maybe later on we might be able to use them as crafting tools, so maybe I'll hold them for now, and if they turn out to be useless then que sera, sera. Take all of my random treasures here that I've been looting as I go throughout the countryside. Get my ass paid. There it is. And so we've actually got enough to jump in on a lot of these. Is it better than what she's rocking at the moment? It is. Better than her helmet. Hell yeah, let's equip her up then. Might be a little expensive for me, but it gets her equipped with a pretty good set of good stuff. It's not much of a looker. Gear definitely don't make you prettier, but I don't know. It'll work for now, I guess. Cool. And I see no reason to sell what's left in my inventories here. Just to make a little bit of extra cash. because I do have some things laying around, and we just spent a lot of money, so why not make a little bit more? Why not make a little bit more? I'm going to hold on to the discordant melody just in case, because I'm not sure how that's going to be useful to me later on. But we'll get ourselves paid so that we have like a platinum or an iron left over or whatever. And let's go make diplomatic attempts with these people over here. We'll see what they have to say. There's actually a lot more talking in this game than I expected. Being a bad guy, I figured I'd show up all over the place and just murder fools. Guarding the entrance to a makeshift encampment, an unbroken warrior stands sentry with thick lines of exhaustion under her eyes. Streaks of sand and rust cover her worn armor and weathered skin. Who treads on unbroken lands? The guard's voice trembles with fatigue. Everyone who comes to Trapper's Junction these days is involved in the war somehow. State your intentions. I'm not above killing you just to be safe. I've come on behalf of the Scarlet Chorus to deliver the terms of surrender. Surrender? Her eyes narrow as her hands tremble around the hilt of her blade. To those madmen? Just as it would seem, her blade were about to leave its sheath, a voice booms from behind her. Stay that weapon, soldier. We will hear this visitor's terms. The unbroken fighter looks pale and worn. His demeanor has begun to show the horrors he's witnessed, but he wears every scar and concerned twitch with a veteran's dignity. Matias, captain of the troops here in Trapper's Junction, to the whole of the Unbroken. Captain, of what's left of us anyways, I buried a lot of good soldiers over the last fortnight, and you can hardly consider this our full strength. He looks back at the camp with an evident doubt. Been in the storm too long to hear much news from the outside. Word of mouth has clued me into your features, Fatebinder. I'm a little preoccupied dealing with Kairos' armies to deal with Kairos' dignitaries, if you don't mind. Scarlet Chorus are giving me a headache of edict-like proportions. What seems to be the problem? That should be no mystery to you. You pledged fealty to the voices of Narat. No doubt you witnessed your share of recruitment horrors in the past. The gang in our shadow has hunted us for weeks, launching surprise attacks in the middle of the night, starving us, bleeding us dry, and hoping that we'll finally give in to conscription. We may not be as strong as we were in days past, but we can still put up a fight. My only fear is that our next will be our last and that our days are numbered. Much as I hate it, it's starting to look like conscripting with the chorus is our only chance of survival. What are you trying to achieve here? What I want can hardly be a mystery to you. We're in the middle of a war. Suffice it to say we want the forces of Kairos to withdraw and stick halberds up their asses. Whatever comes first. Loyalties aside, I think I speak for everyone when I say I'd love that as well. The immediate presence, I'd settle for an end to the Edict of Storms. Has some wartime advantages. We can attack and travel under cover, and the disfavored are all but blind to our movements. Advantages aside, I want this war to end. I want the stalwart to be free again, for this edict to end so that we can bring peace to a land that's losing its grip, even if that means throwing in with the enemy. Alright, well, if I join you in camp, I might be able to offer a more informed opinion. He studies you for a moment and shrugs. That's fine. Keep a civil tongue and your weapons to yourself. You're welcome to accompany me behind the defenses. He turns and waves you inside. He pauses for a moment, a gleam of hope in his eye. Come speak to me in private when you have a moment. You coming here might be useful.
Right.
Alright, we'll check this way too, just to make sure we're not missing out on two. Ooh, almost stepped on it. Almost got me. Let's go ahead and disarm that thing.
You got it. I'll be your shadow.
Presence of all these traps is a little worrying. You step on one of those little buggers and you got wounds for the rest of the adventure.
No dice.
I didn't ask you about your dice. I asked you about walking in a direction. Gotta work on those comprehension skills. While it looks uncomfortable, there is no doubt that the rust-covered makeshift tent can survive the worst weather in the tiers. It's made out of metal.
See that?
Yeah, I seen it. Alright, so we got Matias and Arentis over here. We've got a punch blade, a guitar. Probably not the best weapon for me, so I'm just going to let that be. I'm not feeling particularly punchy right now anyways. Take their gold bars and everything else while we're here. Our options are limited, or don't you understand that? Matias stands before an equally impressive warrior. Both appear to be almost near blows, caught in a heated debate. Only limited by your short-mindedness. The other warrior turns to you and glares. And now you dare to welcome a Fatebinder into our midst? Erentist. Charmed, I'm sure. He spits at your feet and steps forward, taking a challenging stance against Matias. You already sold out our brethren to Kairos' lapdogs? What would you have me do, Erentist? Send our weak and wounded into slaughter again? His outburst echoes off the canyon walls. Should we send our children next? How much of our blood has to be spilled before the rebellion is satisfied? I'm just gonna listen. He takes a step back. All of it. That is what the leader of our great rebellion would have said, but I'm afraid he must be counted as a casualty in this war like the rest. How many enemies must we collect? Our goal has always been to take back Sentinel Stand, kill the last regent, and end this blasted edict. Impossible task by any standard. Losing his composure, he grabs a handful of windborne rust and hurls it to the ground. This is no time to lose control of yourself, Captain. Your soldiers are listening. He blinks and rises to his full height, letting the grit from the storm trail through his fingers. You're right. That was beneath me. I'm frustrated because I don't know what to do for my people, except use our strength to avenge Stalwart on the region who betrayed us. The chorus can give us that strength, and I faltered. We have here is a failure of leadership. If a gang boss couldn't convince her troops to march, then the chorus would get a new gang or a new boss, whichever died first. Well, if vengeance is all you seek, maybe you belong with those bloodthirsty dogs. Don't assume that the rest of us will be joining you. He walks off, shaking his head in disappointment. My apologies for that. Erent has lost as much as anyone in this war, and his reaction is about what I expected. Surrender is a kick in the teeth, but it may be all we have left. I've led this rebellion since the waning days of the war, but my foes grow more numerous every day. Favored, chorus, regents, and now, I have to ask you, Fatebinder, do you approach this camp as ally or as enemy? The Voices of Narad extends an invitation to the Scarlet Chorus. Huh. It seems the howling mob has benefited from aligning themselves with Tunan's court. They don't usually try to negotiate with us first. We faced some real difficulties of late. Some of us had hoped that the worst of this war was behind us, and the bones of Stalwart. He glances up at the blackened sky. It's starting to look like the opposite is true. Tell me of those difficulties. He turns to the fire beside him and nudges it with a log, sending up a cloud of embers. Our real troubles began with the victory at Sentinel's Stand. Instead of facing Kairos' forces in the field of battle, the last regent of Stalwart decided to barricade the keep and look after himself. When Kairos proclaimed the edict, it cursed the regent bloodline for their stubbornness. Okay. Maybe I shouldn't speak too freely about our troubles, the war, this chase around our homeland. You can probably tell that it's all taken a significant toll on me. My soldiers and I are half mad from hunger and exhaustion, mad enough to entertain the idea of conscription. His expression withers with distaste. Have you any questions for me? How did the Unbroken plan on breaching the keep walls? Assuming we get the chance to cross the wind wall with around Sentinel Stand, we'll simply blast the walls to rubble. It's not actually that simple at all. Our alchemists have spent the last several months experimenting with powders and oils that can loosen stone or weaken fortifications. They came up with something far more dangerous, a powder that explodes on contact. Stuff is too chancy to carry into battle, but too good to pass up as a siege breaker. Well, the Scarlet Chorus seems to be your only choice. Doesn't it, though? The weight settles off his shoulders. It's refreshing that somebody understands our predicament. Faced with death or conscription, I think I'll take my chances on the latter. Dead men don't serve the realm. Renus gets unruly whenever I bring up the topic. There's no talking with him anymore. Unruly is good. It'll harden him up for conscription. Kairos knows the Scarlet Chorus needs some passion to fill the front lines. I don't blame Arenas for his stubbornness, though. The Scarlet Chorus hasn't exactly made the kindest of offers, and I'm not convinced myself. Maybe a sign of their good intentions would help sway his opinions. If we knew the certainty they wanted to take us alive, my women and men would be more inclined to surrender. Alright, so what did you have in mind? A fair number of us were captured in the last scuffle. If the Chorus would release those prisoners as a gesture of good faith, the Unbroken would be more amenable to the idea of conscription. Alright, how do you expect me to do that? If the answer was easy, I'd have done it myself. Use whatever charm or powers of persuasion you learned from court. Let's see my men return to us. Just knowing that they're alive and well would convince me of the Scarlet Chorus's good intentions.
Right.
Alright. Well, it's not much, but it's something. Arentis is over here being a grumpy pants. Arentis, formerly the personal guard of Regent Haptia, at least before the war made short work of her. Now I run with Matias and what remains of the true patriots. I don't need a reason to kill you, servant of Kairos. I stay my sword until Matias gives the order. Tips his head to the soldiers around the camp. If you intend to conscript us into the Scarlet Chorus, I can assure you that these men and women are ready to die. I don't think you're seeing the bigger picture. Joining the Scarlet Chorus is your only chance of survival. He waves off with disgust. Survival at what cost? You don't have a clue what it means to live outside of Kairos' authority, so I wouldn't expect you to understand. We value more than our masters and whatever arbitrary system of law they impose. We have more to lose, but we will risk everything to protect it, and I'm sorry that you don't see it that way. Alright, well, whatever. I get the feeling we're going to throw down with him before this is all over. But if we got to spill that blood, I suppose it's necessary. Jagged remedy. The unbroken leader will be swayed if you release the prisoners. And I give up my prizes. Those are the best of the lot, among the finest specimens I've taken as of late. I wouldn't dare part ways with them. The ones I don't keep for my studies are going to Voices of Narat. Chances are fair that we'll just conscript them anyways once our intentions are clear to the rest of the group. But I don't want to risk any of these prisoners slipping through my fingers. Matias or one of his intrepid officers could dispatch them anyways to seek help. How about just the unbroken prisoners? He shakes his head. Those two managed to survive an onslaught of Scarlet Furies. They're worth twice their countrymen, the most hardy I've seen outside of Ash's Legion. Besides, they're the most likely to flee Trapper's Junction and form the rest of the Unbroken. Trade a few soldiers for many plus a leader? I would call that a wise investment. He takes your measure with a raised brow. You are more rational than any member of the court I've encountered, and that's saying something. Alright, I accept your persuasive honeyed words and release the unbroken conscripts back into the wild. May they bring us fortune. Good. That's what I like to see. Now we go back to Matias, and hopefully our gopher routine here is done. Also, we'll throw down a quick save real fast because I've learned my lesson. My brethren have been returned to us. I don't know how you did it, but you managed to reason with the Scarlet Chorus. Or should I say the Chorus is more reasonable than I thought. So be it. If the Scarlet Chorus are willing to show this much good faith, we'll turn ourselves over to their mercy. We couldn't take Sentinel's stand as unbroken, but there's still a chance to liberate Stalwart from the oppression of the region in this edict. Arentis strides in wearing a despondent frown. The Chorus spared our soldiers. Fatebinder here ensured that they would keep their word. The doom that visited these canyons may soon subside. Come and share in this small victory, Arentis. You're impressed that a gang of liars spared a handful of us so they could lull the rest of our fighting strength with false promises. When your future gang boss is branding you with his sigil or cutting your face for speaking out of turn, I hope you remember this blind optimism. Your confidence in the Scarlet Chorus disgusts me, Matias. They pay you one fair turn and you buy into their wars and eager conscript. I can tell if you're desperate or just a liar. Chorus have made their gesture of peace. It falls to you to reciprocate. Nope. If you think me so gullible as to allow the directionless flailing of my disgraced captain to dictate how I will live or die, then you'd underestimate the Unbroken. Perhaps worse, you overestimated Matias. Bearing our traditions and freedom is no better than bearing the dead. Matias, I renounce you as my commander. He turns to the soldiers. Stand with me if you wish to fight as children of Stalwart and die fighting those who would take our land and bury our customs. Fatebinder, you have divided our coalition with empty promises. If not by my authority, then by my might as the son of the Unbroken, you will not leave the Trapper's Junction alive. Arentis, this will be the end of us. You take up arms against the only allies within reach, the only ones who can bring the disfavored in. His speech slows down to silence as the soldiers square off around Arentis. Many of the Unbroken follow his example and stare you down, drawing their weapons one by one. Matias follows anxiously take defensive postures. All the while, he crosses his arm and regards you with a smug grin. I think this future corpse needs a lesson in humility. I was going to bring that up, but here you beat me to it. Great minds, eh, boss? Verse grins as you turn her hungry glare to Arentis. Sons and daughters of Stalwart, take down these would-be saviors who would sell you out for petty vengeance. Let us restore this country on our terms. He signals the attack. So we got 4 on this side. I'm going to suggest we group here.
What have we?
And we are going to turn this flank before anything else. Alright. So you've got a new ability called Death from Above. Let's go ahead and try that out since it's a new ability. You give me a cleave there. You give me a shield bash. On this side, there it is. That's what I like to see. Now turn around and get back in here. No, don't do that. Well, I guess that's okay. I don't know. Wonder if Matias goes down if something bad happens. I've kind of got a feeling that that's the way it's going to play out. Here, you guys handle your business. You stay on him.
Will do.
Nice little stabbity stab here. He's now been blinded. We're starting to turn this flank. We'll be in combat shortly. There it is. Everybody on Irentis. Kill the traitor. Well, kill the loyalist. Maybe not the traitor, but definitely the loyalist. So do that right there. We'll set him on fire, and then we'll catch him with a bunch of arrows after this. Rentis was a good officer, damn his eyes. We served together for a long time, and it's too bad he got caught up in the country's old sense of honor and lost sight of what's important, survival. One more corpse to step over in our journey to greatness. That's not how I would have seen it, but I suppose you're right. We couldn't take back Stalwart on our own. There needed to be compromise and sacrifice. He looks at the bodies with sorrow. I'll go with you to tell the gang boss who's been hounding us that we're willing to join up. In spite of everything, I hope we don't lose ourselves in their ranks. I hope Stalwart... He trails off fighting his tears.
Just point me in the right direction.
This guy had to have something awesome. He had Irentis' notes. A tenuous grip on literacy. They describe the relentless conscription efforts of a Scarlet Chorus gang as they chase the Unbroken across the Blade Grave. The notes include many references to Dauntless, a relic sword of the Unbroken, and many ill-fated attempts to find the blade. There's some crude drawings that resemble a map of the Blade Grave, with the sword drawn on the eastern section of the old walls. Okay. Also found a good iron dagger.
I got it.
So, are we in the Blade Graves right now? Like, where are the Blade Graves at? Let me take a look at the world here. So it said that it was in an eastern thingy, like along an eastern chunk of the wall. Let's go ahead and get our rest in now. And then I'm going to call it a day for this episode, but we're going to grab the good stuff out of this box first because I need more wood. There it is. Our wood supply has been dangerously low lately. I got to keep it strapped up, you know what I mean? I'll see you all in the next episode of Tyranny. I hope you enjoyed this one. Hi to everybody. Bye-bye.